So, as you could tell, I just got through running across the cornfields with my dogs to come over here on a Saturday and say hi to everybody. So I'll get better at this. We'll get higher quality in the editing room because I do all my own production too. Anyway, again, love you guys. Go say hi to somebody. Just wave at somebody. Start there. Just wave at some people. Younger people, older people. I did that backwards, didn't I? Younger people, older people. Just go out and say hi. Let's start. There was a hashtag that Barbie wants to get started. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look through some of the old films. We need to be pulling together and discussing these items, and not be afraid to have a dinner. What do they call it? Table dinner, or around the dinner table. Politics is a device to keep this country moving forward. I know that all the people in the middle class want this country to keep moving forward. I also know that the politicians we have currently in place on both sides of the aisle, some way more than others, but we have a situation now where the politicians don't want us to necessarily move forward. They want, and our education and our information to be lower and lower so that they can control more. They have very perfect lives, really. And these are the things we don't understand. You know, we need to really be able to have the courage and have the patience to be looking at our politicians more directly, with more information. As I've said before, we have a utopia coming, and if we don't have control over our politicians, as that utopia comes, then we won't have that utopia. We will be moved into whatever needs that the country has, without the rewards. This middle class of America has been stronger and done more than my own. I know I'm biased, but than any other. As a matter of fact, all the middle classes, around the world, is what the economy is built on, and we have no say at how that money is spent. All right, folks. Welcome to Open Mic Friday. This was certainly a holiday shortened week, but don't let that fool you at all. The conversations we had were anything but light. We kept showing up again and again. Was this intersection we keep talking about on Insights and Straight Talk? You know what I mean? Faith, finance, leadership, and now AI. Back again, all colliding right in the middle of real life for the great middle class. This week, it wasn't about theory. It wasn't about hype either. I mean, and it definitely wasn't about easy answers. We talked about courage in classrooms, not sound bites. We talked about risk in investing, not gambling. You guys remember that show? That was huge. We talked about ancient wisdom and modern pressure and why many capable people still feel stuck. That was a really good show. We talked about leadership as discipline, not as titles. We talked about scale. Let's see, how people are actually building and operating in a world where AI is no longer optional. And what stood out to me most, every one of these conversations came back to the same quiet truth. Belief without structure doesn't move anything forward. Faith needs a framework, right? Insight needs execution, and leadership, real leadership, shows up when things are uncertain, not necessarily when they're easy. So today, this open mic is about reflection, and it's also about direction. What we learned this week and where we're headed next, because we step into a year, because as we step into this next year, this is about moving from belief to blueprint. Okay. And that's exactly where today's conversation begins. So I want to thank everybody for being here. And I want to thank everybody for their efforts. I want to thank the Mangum Library for their everlasting support. I need to turn something off here. I'm sorry, folks. Their support is dynamic, and right along with Leaf Lab, that group that is partnering with us. Those are our two sponsors, two new sponsors. It looks like we have some communication with some other people that are looking to join the mission or join the movement. Wow, we already have 112 people on. I appreciate you all being here. Please subscribe, hit the like button, or I've heard on some of the social ones, I guess the new thing is to smack that like button. Smash that like button is what I should have said. I really appreciate y'all being here, and it's been amazing 2025. We started the show towards the end of 2024. We're at almost 450. Yeah, I think 450 episodes now. And, this is getting to be a really exciting and continuously moving forward show or podcast, whatever you want to call whatever it is that I'm sitting here doing right now, talking to you guys. And the beauty of this is that I think in each week and in each day we have these conversations, and each of these conversations kind of build on themselves with each of these experts coming in, and as I talked about in the opening monologue, those subjects are invaluable to the great middle class and to our building and coming together. And I had really weird conversations with a friend and neighbor of mine yesterday. Got a little crazy, but I won't get into the whole thing. But it just kind of made me reflect back how important it is that we have this education and this conversation and this community, because there's a lot still of dissatisfaction, of irony, of lack of communication, lack of listening, lack of learning, that really still needs to be continually built upon. And that's why to me, that's why this show is so important, because I don't think we all get outside of our own box enough. That makes sense. So yes, a lot of what we talk about, and moving forward in my, I just did my 6th column to the Mangum Star. I turned it in. It'll come out January 9th, next Friday. This Friday was the 5th. Was the 5th column that I've done for the Mangum Star. I've already written 6, 7, and 8. I'm really enjoying this additional pathway for our message here. In the coming in the columns 5 and then column 6, we transitioned from showing up. Column 5 was about girl dads. My sons are girl dads. And so I have I was able to capture a unique perspective or reflection, whatever word you want to use there, about what it is like to be a girl dad. I was never a girl dad. I raised 5 boys at different ages, and all that's in this column. So I won't get into it. If you want to hook up with the Mangum News, the Mangum Star News. They're online, digital, as well as paper. But I'm always on page 2, the top half of page 2 in the columns. Pick up that Mangum Star, because it's I think it's a real valuable column discussion for a different way to look at what being a girl dad is. Being a girl dad is critical. It's important, because the first man your daughter pays attention to is you. And you, not so much by what you say, but by how you do what you do, how you act, how you react, how you show up, and how you talk, all silently sets a framework for how your daughter will choose her mate, how she will see and expect men, and I say mate, that goes on, but let's make an assumption here on how your daughter will view men or her potential mate in the future. That starts from those little games around the table, around the dinner table, those little games on the floor, those discussions as she's growing, because someday there's going to be somebody standing across the porch, or a TV screen or a telephone screen, and she's going to be having that image subconsciously, not consciously, but what you do matters. And I see my boys every day interacting with their girls. And I write quite a bit periodically on this subject, because I'm a grandfather now that never had girls in his life, just huge amounts of testosterone growing up. But it's a different world when you have a girl in your life, when you have a daughter in your life. And it's really opened up my perspective, my own personal perspective on the importance of that. I growing up, I didn't know that I wanted a girl. I was only thinking of myself, our name going forward, the Duff name, in other words. And I think all dads have that wish, right? There's 200 people on right now. I appreciate y'all being here. But as that conversation goes and goes and goes and goes, boy, I've learned a lot. This has been, like I said, this has been a really shortened couple of weeks because of the holidays. And as a matter of fact, today, the director here at the Mangum City Library, Joe, he came in. He's sick. This is a veteran, by the way. We talked about him a little while ago on Veterans Day, as a matter of fact. But he came in sick as a dog, and did not realize. So opened up the library, even though it's closed today, because of the New Year's holiday. All the office, the city offices are closed for a 4-day weekend kind of thing. But he's also not going to close on Saturday tomorrow, so I'll be here as well then. So this has been a truly shortened week, but it's been a couple of weeks, but it's been powerful in the subjects that we've talked about. And next week's no different. We have an awesome lineup of people coming up. The full week is filled, as this one was. Well, pretty much, yeah, I think it was completely filled, except for Saturday. And tomorrow I'm not going to do a show. I'm just going to get ready, because I do the column for the Star. I do 3 Substacks, meaning I release a Barbieism on Monday. You guys will see that on Monday. I think it's a really good one, because it's transitioning it talks about the column and how we're transitioning on this, not on this show, but on the Substacks and on the specifically on the column that I write. We're transitioning from showing up to financial stability, and then we're going to follow through that, start getting into some economics. Education is the baseline, but referring to creating a stable income and safety for your family and yourself as we all grow up in this world of modern times. So each of these subjects are components that feed the great middle class in it's information. It's stuff that typically we would not have access to. And so this podcast, this media, this platform of ours is made to empower and made to hit each component within the needs of the great middle class. I've always been somebody who's been very, very, very curious. Somebody told me early on when I was doing this show, one of the marketing guys that at that time I was working with before my savings all ran out. Please subscribe, and if you want to be a sponsor of the show, we'd love to have you here to keep this message going. But early on, this person told me, if you're gonna be the master of many subjects, you'll be the master of none, right? Or certainly the supplier to none. But I never believed in that for a couple reasons, and one to kind of point at me for a minute, and I'm sorry for that. I don't mean to be that way, but I've always been a very, very, very curious person, and so I've always asked questions and dug deeper into subjects that I didn't know much about. And that started, honestly, I can remember the day that well, it's always been that way, but I remember a day that it really impacted my life for the first time, and I really took umbrage with that. Is that the right word? Umbrage? I really took it. It's 30 years later, it's still in my head. So I used to represent this company. I had a machinery business where we built machinery, but we built that machinery off of the reputation that my company built in selling for other machinery builders. For instance, McGuire. It's a blending company that's based out of Pennsylvania. Very successful. Anybody in the food or plastics industry that take pellets and dry them, mix color, or moves them along, moves a product from one location to another. Huge company. The name McGuire. It's very famous worldwide. Started by a gentleman that used to work for another company, and in his garage they used to have mixers, liquid mixers, and he was one of the engineers for that company. And after a little bit, innovation, he saw a different way, a better way to do it. So he built this product in his garage on his own, and then eventually started this company. But my point being is early on, I was at when I had my company, I had a few guys there with me. No, that's not true. I was working for somebody else, my Uncle Frank, and it was when I was first started in the industry, and I worked for a company named HS&S, Hughes, Sforza, and Sanders. My uncle, my dad's wife's father, married Frank Sforza long time ago. His parents came over from Italy, and just a true loving Italian family. But I was there, and it was one of my first exposures to processing in the plastics industry. I was hired as a salesperson, but knowing that I didn't know anything about the industry I was going into. So he required me to take night classes. I took a bunch of courses in college and a number of studies beyond that, so I could quickly learn about the processing industry. Of course, that leaves holes, right? So I was at we were at a sales conference introducing the equipment to a room full of sales reps from all across the country. I don't know if there were any international people there, if they were doing that at a separate time or not. But the point being is they always ask for questions, and people usually don't ask questions. I always did. One, because I like to talk. But also, I remember I kept hearing this thing about dew point, about dew point, about dew point. I was nervous, but I raised my hand. I said, "Hey, dig deeper here? What is dew point?" So but the reason I bring that up is because if I wasn't curious, I would have been further behind in my ability to make an income, to make a living, to sell equipment for my uncle and his partner, Rod Hughes, Frank Sforza, Rod Hughes. Sanders was bought out years and years and years and years and years earlier. But I remember that I went from anxiety to pride because the question was taken so well, because other people had the same question. I mean, they generally knew what it was about, but not as in depth as we all learned from that answer to that question. So it's important, be curious. But coming back to the point, when this person told me this, I thought about it. I mean, it's a fair comment, and you've heard it before. If you're going to be the master of all, you'll be the master of none, kind of thing. Paraphrasing here. And I, after some reflection and some thought on that, I kind of turned it over honestly. In my head, I was honest with myself, and I thought, I agree with you, this person that said that. And however, I don't think that holds true for me, because I know a whole lot. I know a very little amount about a bunch of stuff. I know a lot about a couple of tiny little things. Okay. So their framework. Now, this show is about the great middle class. It's about you. It's about this community. And this community has more than just one need. It has a financial need, and there's plenty of channels that focus on that. It has a AI learning knowledge. What the hell is this all about? What does this mean to me? The Jetsons are coming. That's one of our past. It's this great middle class has a problem. 70% of adults and children have some form of mental illness. There it is. So that is another lane, and that gets into addiction, family issues, mental illness, problems within families themselves, on and on and on. I'm just going to briefly go through real quick, and then the final segment is about community. Building community through Voices at the Table, the Regeneration School Project. These are all things that we build upon within this show that are the foundations of this show. And I've got a couple articles coming out through the Mangum library and the Substacks. By the way, check out our Substack, insightstraighttalk.substack.com. Sign up, it's free. We are going to very shortly run a special, and for like $2.99 a month, you get the whole thing. So there's a paywall about 2/3 of the way through, and then there's some real powerful underneath the paywall. And then the free is very, very valuable as well for insights. And so I'd love for you guys to support us there as well. But, I can't avoid this. There's just too many questions already. And I know a lot of these questions are going to be coming from I kind of on my commentary briefly hit on some of these points, but I have a feeling a lot of these, like Ali Moore here, I have a feeling that a lot of these are going to be very poignant and precise to the different shows we did this week. But let's pop into a couple of these here, and then I'll riff, throughout. It's going to be a shortened show today. The library's closed, so I don't want to take too much advantage of Joseph. Your time is valuable. You're here for a reason. I know you're here to understand or talk, to go back and forth a little bit with what went on this week. But also, we've got a guy here that's running, I think he's like 102 fever, coughing every once in a while. I can even hear him a floor below me coughing. You might even pick one up here or there. But, I love and respect that as well. So, Ali, how do you personally balance faith and financial decision making? Oof. Wow, you guys are hitting it up. Bam. You're hitting a dinger right out of the gate here, Ali. So faith in what you can do is something that's a building from the inside out, and an everyday practice. Faith in God, faith in Jesus. I'm a Christian. Christianity, that's an everyday thing. That's part, and it always has. It has not always been that way, and I'm not proud of that. It is what it is. But I'm going to turn this reflection to my sunglasses or my eyeglasses. I know I got this light here and this light here and this light, that light, these lights and those lights, but I have an issue with lights, as you guys probably know by now. But faith, grounded faith, is a part of my life. It's how I breathe. It's what saved me. It's the reason I'm here with you today. And I say that not to be dramatic. I say that because my life was completely different before. I was thinking this morning or last night, time is relevant, right? I was thinking about this, and that right now at this time, my life from a year and a half ago is 100% completely and utterly different than I have lived my entire life. I mean, straight from, I live in Oklahoma now, not Chicago or LA. I live in a small town, not a large city, where I've always lived, where most people live, right? Rural is rural because it's rural, right? Urban is urban because it's urban. There's a lot of people there. My job is different. My job is you. My job was building machines before and selling them and running crews and all that stuff. Barbie's in LA and I'm in Oklahoma. That's different from the last 2 decades. What else? I don't know what else, but I walk a lot more. I'm more with my dogs. I'm more with my kids. There's this thing that I'm in the middle of, which is a complete difference, which, by the way, I promote. It's scary. I'm 63 years old, and my entire life I changed. Literally, entire life I've changed. I'm 70 pounds lighter than I was a year and a half ago. So good things, some tough things, but I totally recommend really evaluating your life at some points in time, and do it how makes you feel comfortable, but do it. At least challenge yourself to lean in that direction. Specifically moving from an urban setting to a more rural setting, that, well, that in combination with a couple of other things is the best decision I ever made in my life. It's a different world with the people all being exactly the same. People here think no differently than people in Chicago. I mean, politics, this, that, blah, 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 that stuff. But they're the same humans. They're the same neighbors that have the same issues. Some of them bigger, some of them smaller, but people are people. Americans are Americans. And I'll hold on that, not to slide into politics, but Americans are Americans, not people living in America or coming to America until they assimilate. That's a different thing, right? So I'm going to leave that there. But Americans are Americans. We deal with the same issues. We have the same concerns. We have the same round the table discussions. We have the same issues for our kids. We have the same issues in having to work check by check. So I highly recommend make it. Next week we have a guy on. Really fascinating dude. He ran an AI. He was a director of an AI company, and over in Europe. And one day, midlife crisis, sometimes people call it. But you'll want to see this show because he talks about how he picked up his whole family, moved out of Europe. He moved to Mexico, and the reason being is because it was more about quality of life, not just financially. And by the way, he's rocking it. He's freaking rocking it. Because in today's world, tying back into the rural aspect, there is much of, I don't know what the numbers are, but there's a huge amount of people that can pick up what they're doing, go anywhere in the world they want to live, in the United States. Let's keep it here. We're about America here, right? And the world. But, and they can do that work, what's it called? Now I just went blank on it. Remotely. And that's why I'm here. The reason I'm here is for the Regeneration School Project. The ability for me to be here is because of you guys and Insights and Straight Talk. So how does faith and financial decision making balance in my world? Faith is throughout my world. And again, like I said, it never used to be. I've always been religious. I grew up Southern Baptist, but now I have a relationship with God. There's a difference. Not just going to church on Sunday. I have a relationship with God. I had a huge. I mentioned I had an interesting porch. Us two guys sitting on the porch late last night, or not late, but as the sun was starting to go down last night, chit-chatting about all sorts of different things. And we got into a discussion on religion, and we went back and forth. And he's concerned about critical times coming, and I don't blame him. And someday we may get into that discussion. But for me, my religion, my God, is an everyday, every breath aspect of my life. And not to the point, religion is complicated because people, I've known a number of people who I've worked with in the plastics industry, and, religion and your faith is important. And I know it says in the Bible, you should minister to people. But you also got to understand that you have to understand who the people are that you're ministering to, because too many people give religion a really bad name. Because in my opinion, God is real, religion is man-made. And it doesn't mean it's made up or any of that. I got a little in trouble with this guy about that, because he turned that into me saying it was fake, which is not what I said. But what I do believe is that when God speaks to you, he speaks to you. and there's so many things to get within that discussion, but uh, it's easy to balance financial decisions through God. It's easier than without it. So, Ali, I hope that works for you. If you want to build on that, hey Nick, how you doing? Thanks for saying hi, brother. Then Ali, hit me up again. So, Maria, how you doing, Maria? Beautiful picture. I love that. The coloring and everything. Which episode from this week had the biggest impact on me? Wow, that's a good question. Well, here, I got to cheat now. Let me look. Let me look here before I say something. Because there's so much that was this week was powerful, man. Um, hold on, I'm sorry. I did not expect that question, and I don't want to get it wrong, so I want to kind of look this up a little bit. Come on, where are you? Looking ahead. Oh, next week, the tech director to sovereign life, Wall Street tools for the Main Street investors, from radio to brand authority. And then Captain Set Sail is back with us again next week with Dave Chuan. But this time, we're going to talk more about politics than about leadership and how leadership matters because of what the frick is going on with our politics. But last week, oh, Gail Morin, that was a good one. Her internet connection was kind of faulty, so it wasn't as good as it can. We are going to do another one. I approached her and said, "Look, this is a great show, great message, because that was a message of faith, teaching children faith and how to go through life and bringing that into their lives." And how she does that. She's an author, and she's got a media thing going on, including she's pitching next month to the Angel Studios. Is it Angel? Right? I think it's Angel. Yeah, Angel Studios. They're I think they're the largest faith-based media. So she's doing this automation show, and so I'm really excited about that. Breaking through the personality code was a very interesting show. Um, Everyday lean leadership was a very good show. You remember that the gentleman that we were talking with who talked about leadership, kind of, and that's what I love about this show is we have different experts on similar subjects. Let's take leadership for a second here, and the aspects come back to the same truth, but from a different direction. It's almost like what Democrats and Republicans used to be. It's about getting to the right. It's about addressing the issues of the day from two different directions, and the people decide what do they feel is the best way to go about that. Today, it's a different thing. But that was a powerful show. And then, of course, from 14 million to R.J. Grimshaw to 250 million, entrepreneurship, execution, and AI operating models for CEOs. So those last two were both about leadership from different directions. So that combination to me was probably the most powerful episodes of the week. I appreciate your question, Maria. And again, beautiful picture there. Jeffrey, what's one leadership habit that delivers fastest results? Authenticity. Boom. Drop the mic. Boom. Yeah, I think that's the key. And the reason I say that is because sorry, I'm just moving up the comments here. We got a bunch of them here. Authenticity comes across. So you've got to combine that with a focus on your people and making sure that message comes through, because there's so much about having people buy into, when you're in leadership, there's so much to having people buy into what it is that you're leading them to. I mean, let's face it, the workers, let's just say this, the leadership of a company or a family or whatever, but let's just talk about it in a company based vision or lens here. Leadership in a corporation is all about the vision. So leadership creates and promotes the vision and the instructions and so forth of that vision to be impactful for a company, positively impactful for a company. The workers, and I don't mean disrespect out of those two terms, but just to frame it, the workers in a company are the backbone. It's the same thing, but smaller as our country, the great middle class, how I talk about being the backbone of our economic and our infrastructural systems. In a company, the same thing applies on a much smaller scale, but the same thing applies. And in leadership, that vision needs to be put in a way and carried to the workforce, that's a better word, workforce, so that each of them buy in. Because when you go to work each day, you want to go for a purpose. You want to, well, what's the number? Maybe 80, 90%, something like that, of people leave. They don't leave a company, they leave a manager. That's the most important takeaway from this discussion right now, Jeffrey. Okay? How should everyday professionals start talking about AI today? Depends on how much they know already. But my suggestion, Roy Drink. Oh, cool name, Roy. My suggestion is that every day, and that's an important question right there. That's a pivotal question right there. Every day you should be talking about AI in some way, shape, or form. And depending on what you know about AI, and I'll say also automation, which are two separate things, but AI is the big umbrella. And then, there's aspects of AI that we could talk on for hours from now, I mean, technically, Google is AI, right? Not technically. Google is one of the original AIs. But what oh, I'm sorry. I took off on talking, but thinking about's the same thing. I just looked back down at your note there, Roy. But you should be using it every day to some way. Get a free Chat GPT or Gronk or what are the other ones that are out there? There's AI in every single tool that we use if you're in business. I mean, even Word has AI trying to help you write better letters or resumes or better, more refined or more polished emails. You should slowly start using these tools if you're not already, and if you are, continually to build on it, because AI is not going anywhere, brother. It's not going anywhere. It's here. The Jetsons, I used to say the Jetsons are coming. The Jetsons are here. They are here. And if you want to thrive in this world, not just survive, take Roy's question seriously. Should be thinking about it. Should be talking about it with coworkers. I mean, you don't want to get up in people's Kool-Aid every day about whatever subjects they may or may not be interested in. But we've got a great middle class that what is the thing I heard? 80,000, or is it 8,000? It's a big number. God dang it! I wish I would remember that. People over the age of 80 pass away every day. And so what does that mean? That means there's a whole lot of old people in the world. and a whole lot, and in the U.S. obviously. But what does that mean? That means there's a whole lot. I talk about at times I've talked about how back in the 80s, I think, late 70s, 80s, people my age and older during that time, I witnessed it, went into huge Great Depression. Why? Because they were cut off from the world. They didn't know about the internet. They didn't know about computers. They didn't know about Word program or Google or whatever it was back then that was there. And then, of course, social media and what was the precursor to Facebook? Whatever that was, your page or something like that. Actually, that's where Barbie and I met, believe it or not. It no longer exists, but somehow we came across each other and started up a conversation. And next thing you know, month or whatever months later, I was meeting her at the end of the Pier Cafe in Huntington Beach, California, for dinner. And we never looked back from there. A beautiful night of dancing, and it was a wonderful. There's so much I could tell you about that night. It was magical, to be honest with you. It was magical, but it's here. You know, and that was 20 years ago. Barbie and I had been together for 2 decades. We're still together, but as friends now, and pretty much friends. Sometimes I piss her off still, so we're friends, but we still arm wrestle over a couple things here or there. But yeah, I mean, you gotta get into this, brother. You really need to be active in your own life. That means you got to just pay attention to what's going on and kind of look over the horizon. You know, when you're driving your car, you look 3 car lengths ahead, or, you know, in the horizon. So as traffic is, as what's coming, so that you don't just stare at the car in front of you, because by the time they hit their brakes, if that's the case or whatever, you could have seen much more ahead of what's coming if you're looking at the horizon. So look at your horizon and then decide how to think about what is important to you that could be easily automated. If you want me to build on that, Roy, it's an important subject, and I appreciate you asking it. If you want to build on that one, hit me up before the show ends up here. Michelle, how can middle-class families apply these insights right now? The dinner table. Sit around the dinner table and close the phone. Set it down on the table. Look square in the eye and talk about it. It has to start somewhere. The best way to parent is to be involved. The best way to parent is to approach life realistically. Show your kids some of your scars. Don't show all of them, but let them know you came out of it. You know, teaching your kids is through action and through conversations. So how can middle-class families apply these insights right now? You take a real look and step into your family, into your own family. Start there, into your own family. And then that builds out to the neighborhood, and that builds out to the town or whatever your area, and then so on and so on and so on. And so remember the old Purell commercial, and so on and so on and so on. And that will also give you feedback, and you can continue to keep applying these insights day in and day out. But again, like Roy, like I was talking to Roy about a second ago, be active in your own life. This is all the key. The whole key is, you know, it really boils down to everything we talk about. boils down to building from the inside out. And setting that next to this is be active in your own life. Don't just go through life. Go through life. Go into life. Lean into life. Lean into your life. Being a little more animated there. Not so don't go into it angry, but go into it, importantly. All right, Michelle? Anything more on that, Michelle, you want to hear, let me know. What one AI tool leaders should pay attention to in 2026? Your little typo there, dude. Remember, it's 2026 now. All of you, it's 2026. It's a new year. Happy New Year. I'm excited about this year. I think this year is going to show up in a much more impactful and hopefully positive way than it has in certainly recent years. So back to your question, John. What one AI tool leaders? That depends on the business and I'll go back to the easy one, the simplest one, ChatGPT, because you can do everything. I've got my ChatGPT open right here, and I've got a bunch of stuff that I use that dials in a lot of the work that I do, because it allows me to look for information and data on people. It allows me to add tone or this to that, different writing, this, that, emails, that kind of stuff. Organization. AI is I would go with ChatGPT just because it's a vanilla answer. There's some really critical. Python is a content, not a content, is a code writing. And my son's taking Python at San Diego State University, and I'm starting to learn a little bit about it. Very powerful system, but there's so much AI coming around. I mean, I'm getting into things like Make, that makes a whole automation to send out automated messages. But the only way I can answer this question without knowing more information is to say ChatGPT. That's the direction you want to go. Okay. You want to hang out with ChatGPT. Now, when you do that, like all this other AI, there's a lot of other ones out there too. Like I said, Gronk's out there, and there's others, but I'm just going to say ChatGPT. And there is a very free version that's very, very good. But now, when you do that, you have to, if I had a coworker that worked for me that I needed stuff to be done from that person, and I would need to train them. It's no different in AI. AI is providing you an assistant, just like the example I gave in the real life human being. You've got to train it. And the reason I say that is because it has its knowledge base, its capabilities, which are all excellent. But when you're training it to be like you, like to come from a position, or come from wording, or come from meaning, or come from tone in a way that it is learned is you. So now you're producing a product that is you. And of course, you need to go in and manage it and do this and do that. But at the end of the day, the training is very important. But I'm going to go with no other information, I'm going to go with ChatGPT. Thanks, John. Appreciate your question there, brother. David, I think, David Darnell. A lot of new faces on today. How do you avoid burnout while still pushing for excellence? Excellence. Well, okay. Earlier, good question, David. Earlier, we were talking about how do leaders, what is the most important message you can give to leaders about managing, their people? The last part wasn't in there, but I added it. And the same answer here, a little bit differently, applies. So we talked a lot about burnout, but have you ever heard the term centurion? They did a study. Well, centurion means living over somebody who's 100 years or old. And I talk about quality over quantity, but there's still quantity here. You want to have both? Here's how you do it. And it answers your avoidance of burnout. I do this show 6 days a week. I'm not superhuman, nothing like that. It's a commitment I made. Well, I do the show, plus I write the Mangum column. I have 3 different Substacks, Barbieisms on Monday, Poem and Pages on Wednesdays, and today I released Open Mic Friday. Those are separate periodicals that I write. And then I do the show, and in the show I set up each of the shows, and in the descriptions that you guys get when you're reading them, and I do the thumbnails, I do the marketing, blah 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 blah. So I work a lot, and the reason I say that is because I've been doing it straight 6 days a week for a year and a half, and I don't get burned out. It's a lot of, I work way more for less money, like no money basically, today than I did for the 30-year business I built up, over 30 years in the machinery business. Remember I was talking about McGuire. That was one of my first ever factories that I ever represented. So it has they gave this to me when I achieved a couple of high-end awards for different percentages of achieving things. So they while I was there, they gave me one of this shirt and a bunch of other stuff. But I like this. It's pretty cool, actually. It's very warm, actually, but it's very neat. It's because I have a purpose now. Producer Barbie used to tell me, Rodd, you started the machinery business and ran it and did it because of ego. This you're doing because of love. This is your journey. This is your mission. That's the key word. Give people have a mission. Do something that has a mission. Growing up, I went to school for business and theater. You notice I didn't do this. I did this because two different things. But I made a decision early on, when I met my wife, who gave me my 2 boys, to take the safe route, to get into business. So sales and marketing, next best thing to theater. And that's kind of why I have that mindset, or had that mindset doing that. But at the end of the day, if you have or give somebody a mission, a purpose in life, they're not just showing up to work. And showing up to work is something different. It burns you out, to be honest with you, right? Make sense? All right. Love you, man. Appreciate it, David. Got a couple more minutes here. We're just over an hour. Wow, that went by really fast. 342 people here. Appreciate you guys being here. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Smack the like button. Hit it. I want lots of likes out of this one. By the way, this week we got another 100 subscribers. A little bit more than that, I think, but something like that. And I appreciate that. So please, let's hit that 10,000 mark, man. And what else? I think that's it. David, anything else? Let me know, man. I'm here for it. That's what I'm here for. And I'm here consistently and constantly because I have a mission. I have a purpose. Give people purpose. Give yourself, find something that gives you purpose. The old saying, there is an old saying that says, find something you love and make it your work. All right. So, Rodd Gorski, what advice would you give first-time investors today? Oh, man. See, now you're asking, you got it. You're ending it on a question that I'm not the best one to answer. But go back and watch the show, because that was a beautiful, beautiful show. But in that story, we talked a lot about securing your assets, managing risk by investing responsibly. I'm going to just give you those little hints. I'm going to end it there. This is Insights and Straight Talk. My name's Rodd Duff. I'm your host, and I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here, and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Subscribe.